So we've talked about students cheating on writing papers, but do teachers practice what they preach? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb, and with me is Barrett McNabb. So in Harris County, Texas, where we are, in a major teacher certification scandal, 5 individuals face felony charges after being accused of orchestrating a $1 million cheating scheme, Harris County District Attorney Kim Ogg announced today. Ogg also said at least 2 of those who paid to obtain the fake certifications were charged with indecency with a child, as well as online solicitation of a minor.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. And, District DA Ogg is, she represents Harris County, and she's a Democrat. She's currently supporting Senator Ted Cruz in his reelection bid because she believes that Cruz is tough on crime. Well, so is she, and that is one of the reasons why she did not win her primary, is because she is tough on crime. And here's an example of where she is not going to get pushed around when there's felonies going on in teacher certification. So good for her.
But how dare a Democrat not toe the line?
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly why she didn't win her primary is they want to get a not tough on crime DA in the city and the county. So, but anyway, the prosecutors said longtime Booker T. Washington High School boys basketball coach Vincent Grayson led a cheating ring. And, in this, people were typically paid about $2,500 for help in having their test exams be fraudulently assisted, whether people would take the exam for them or even just not have to take the exam and just be forged. So teachers were paying $2,500 a pop in order to get into this fraudulent ring. But this is really, it's to obtain teachers' licenses and other certifications. And so approximately 20 teachers have come forward with confessions, but the investigation has shown as many as 400 people, 400 educators have illegally obtained teacher certifications in Texas since 2020. So it's the past 4 years through this cheating ring. And it netted the organizers about $1 million. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Well, the scheme involved conspirators taking and administering tests on behalf of aspiring certified teachers. The licenses likely help school employees get promotions, earn higher salaries, and keep their teaching jobs.
Yeah, because remember, I think some of these people had failed previously. And so this was kind of a last-ditch effort in order to keep their jobs. But one conspirator recruited and referred and refined estimated 90 teachers and collected about $267,000 in payments. Another conspirator who was paid over $188,000 for his role as a test taker was caught red-handed taking tests for 2 teachers at the same time.
Wow.
And he gave a full confession, which obviously lit that snowball into catching other people. But still, I mean, here he is. He's taking 2 exams at the same time for people who were not him.
Yeah, and he was supposed to be administrating it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, prosecutors said the investigation started in mid-2023 last year when the Texas Education Agency received a tip about testing irregularities at the Houston Training and Education Center. State education officials and the testing company Pearson noticed applicants who had previously failed their teacher certification exams were all of a sudden driving all the way from Dallas, Fort Worth, and other faraway areas, and Texas is a big state, just to take their test in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's an abnormality of all of a sudden Houston is the test-taking place to go to for people who have failed their exams, and then miraculously they pass. I mean, to go from Dallas-Fort Worth area, Metroplex, to Houston.
It's about 4.5 hour
drive.
About
4.5 hour drive. And there were people coming as far away as El Paso, which is coming up on an 8-hour, 9-hour drive in order to get there. Maybe even more than. It's to go from El Paso to the border of Texas that borders Louisiana is about 12 hours, 900 miles. So I mean, it's a hike. But here's the thing: is we've seen this in the news a little bit, but it is not getting anywhere near the attention of the federal varsity blues investigation that occurred about 3 years ago, and it centered around rich Caucasian kids having a fixer get these kids into prominent universities, and it was via fixing SAT scores or ACT scores. I think some of it involved, manipulation of transcripts. I think some of it even involved getting scholarships. I believe one of the Hallmark moms, and she was on
Lori Loughlin?
Lori Loughlin. Her daughter, who's never been on a rowing crew in her life, all of a sudden became a varsity rowing crew. And they even had a photo shoot where she was sitting in a crew boat and, sent that in to try and get a scholarship and be on the crew team. So, it was a big deal. It lasted a bunch of news cycles for that, and a lot of these moms.
I think some of it was due
prison.
to the celebrity status of the moms.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. But here's kind of the heartburn that I have is this is not getting anywhere near the publicity. But let's go ahead and make sure that we're comparing these apples and apples, or in my opinion, I think they're apples and oranges, is the moms were paying to have their children get into these schools, of which they would then have to pay tuition to the schools. And some of them were state schools, some were private schools, but they were getting into the school in order to have the right and the privilege of paying tuition to those institutions. Where on the opposite side, we have these teachers who are not qualified to be teachers paying in order to get a job as a teacher, paying to have a promotion in their job to be a higher ranking teacher or administrator. And in this instance, the state and the city are paying those employees. So one, the college girls are getting in and they have to pay to be there, but here the Houston HISD teachers are cheating in order to get more money from the state. So the money is going the opposite directions in each of these.
Well, I would say this is worse because if you have a certified teacher, they teach, let's say, 20 kids a year. That's affecting 20 kids a year times however many years they teach.
Right, absolutely. And what's the quality of the education?
Per teacher that cheated, whereas a student, it's just one student maybe being at a school that they aren't smart enough to get into.
Yeah,
or too lazy to study for to get into.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because again, my heartburn is I see one is more damaging than the other. One, to your point, is a student that has a famous mom and she couldn't otherwise get into the university by herself, so she had these assistants with her test scores and things like that. But it's really only affecting that student,
that individual,
right?
And the school probably doesn't mind assisting because they know the celebrity can pay the full tuition.
Absolutely, and there's not going to be any reduced tuition or anything like that. But to your point, the educators here in Harris County in Houston, Texas, it's affecting the quality of education of the actual students. So it is magnified. Let's just say that the person is saying that they want a geometry certification, so they can be not just a math teacher, but they can be a geometry teacher, and they have no clue about geometry because they keep failing the exam. And so here they are, they get this extra bonus to be a specialized teacher, but they don't know geometry, and so they're trying to teach this to the kids, and the kids aren't learning geometry at the tail end of it either.
And they're in their more formidable years because this is 12th grade and below.
Right. Now look at it from the student perspective as well. So here we have students that are looking up to their mentors who upwards into, was it 400 potential or is it
yes,
900?
400.
400 potential teachers in one county. The students are looking up to these teachers to be mentors, and they see in order to get ahead, go ahead and cheat. Now, fast forward to Varsity Blues, or go backwards to Varsity Blues, it's students that want to get into a university and they feel like they can cheat. So this pervasiveness of cheating in education, I think, is just throwing this, completely turning it upside down.
Well, no wonder we're just sinking lower and lower amongst international students around the world.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to South Korea, they have a national exam that they take every year in order to get into college. And the raison d'etre, the reason for being of any student is to prepare for and take this exam, and it's a hugely stressful event for them. They even reroute airplane traffic over the country to make sure that airplanes flying overhead don't create a distraction for the students that are taking this exam. It is a big deal. And so you can imagine the amount of money that parents spend in order to set their kids up for success, tutoring and things like that. And some students, obviously I don't think this is okay, but if they don't do well on that exam, they commit suicide because they feel their life is over. So here we have a culture of studying that hard in order to do the very best that you possibly can. And then we have educators who are supposed to be role models cheating and influencing the future education and the future morals of their students forever.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just highlighting different cultural aspects. Asian culture, especially South Korean culture, they emphasize working hard, studying hard. Your job is to be a good student. And here we're honoring meritocracy less and less.
Right.
And, not everybody reads to their kids that much. And, it just sends the message to the kid that, hey, it doesn't matter. Their friends don't study, so what does it matter? Yeah, it's a big cultural problem.
Yeah, well, my best friend from high school his family was from Taiwan. And he was the salutatorian of his high school graduating class. The only reason he wasn't the valedictorian is because he was also an athlete and played tennis all 4 years. And getting a 4.0 GPA in tennis actually lowered his GPA because he was in the honors program and the maxed out at 4.6 GPA. And so by getting a 4.0, it lowered his GPA. And instead of being the valedictorian, he was the salutatorian. But still, I asked him one time what motivated him, and this is when I was in high school, what motivated him to do so well in school. And he gave me a straight answer. He said, it's my duty to my family to do this and to be the absolute best that I possibly can. And so that is definitely not the mindset that these teachers are providing for their students in order to really, not cheat, to try your best to do what it is. And, the reason that there's these exams and these certifications is because if you are not good enough to do it, then you shouldn't be in front of students. And by violating the trust of not only the state of Texas and the county and the city, but by violating the sacred trust between parents and educators, I think this is just a huge problem. Now, we have not seen a big hubbub about this in the news. It's been in print news or digital news, but I haven't seen too many giant CNN covering doing massive coverage like they did for Varsity Blues. But it needs to happen. This needs to be brought to light. This needs to stop. And we saw it. We wanted to bring it to you. So thank you so much for listening to Azimuth Podcast. Please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.